Good morning. Welcome. This is a session about Surface in the LTE world. I am Joanna Lee. I'm a technical program manager in Windows, specifically with all the name changes. We are under Core OS and Intelligent Edge. We're here to talk about a couple of things. How many of you has heard or have heard about eSIM? Embedded SIM? A couple of you guys? The announcement of Apple a few weeks ago kind of helped a little bit, but we're here to talk about what we're actually doing in this space in the enterprise world. And so I am with Windows, but we have been partnering with Surface as one of the first devices that have eSIM capability in it on a PC. So just think of those in mind while we go through the slides. Since not all of you know about eSIM, let me give a very high level of background of what eSIM is. eSIM in the traditional definition is an embedded SIM. It's actually a chip. The industry is moving away from the physical form factor, so you're pretty familiar with all your cellular phones have the physical card, right? The industry is moving away from that. And what that does is they're moving away because of a couple of things. One is it started with machine-to-machine use cases. So, I mean, you guys are shaking your heads like you know what I'm talking about. There are some devices, so IoT devices and whatnot, that require data connectivity actually for it to run. A case in point would be some of the automotive, like BMW, for example. Some of those cars have eSIM or have an embedded chip. And the beauty of it is that if they want to update it, if they want to change it or whatsoever, they don't have to remove it. There's a chip in there, they can reprogram and all that sort of thing. So we took that sorry, this is not, all right. So where eSIM is today, you've heard about it from some of the smartwatches. Samsung was one of the first ones that had it, I think, maybe 2 years ago, more or less. They had it in their smartwatches. Apple has it. The laptops that we have right now, I'll talk more about that, but I'll focus on Surface and what Surface has. And then smartphones as well. We've heard Apple's announcement 2 weeks ago, they will have that. This is actually something that the industry is working together, but in our session in particular, this focuses on enterprise, and I'll be talking a lot about what are the requirements, aside from a device such as Surface, and if you're managing devices, how do you do that together with eSIM, what does it mean for us, and all that sort of thing. All right, Windows, what is our strategy? So we worked on eSIM 3 years ago. We started working on it 3 years ago. We have been actively participating in GSMA to figure out what are the standards, what are compliance, and all that sort of thing in terms of working with mobile operators and other OEMs. So this has been something that we've been actively working on. What we did was we actually started to talk to customers. So we have Windows Technical Adoption Program, wherein we talk to enterprise customers, walk them through the use cases around eSIM. In the beginning, they were like, what is this? We're just moving away from the physical form factor. But what you would like to get from that is the ability to do remote SIM provisioning after the fact. What does that do? So when we talk to enterprise customers, one of the pain points that they really had was, right now, while you guys are distributing devices across your organization, you have a good way of managing those. Who's using that? What are the policies you're assigning? So on and so forth. But in the case wherein you're also distributing data connectivity, either in mobile phones or what have you, you don't have visibility over how it's being used. So as soon as you distribute the physical cards to your employees, you don't know what they're using it for. You don't know, you can't tell whether they're actually using it in devices that have been provisioned by the enterprise, or are they using it for another member of the family, so on and so forth. Also, they don't have control over how the data is being used. So typically, it's like turn off roaming, cap this usage, so on and so forth, but it does not give you the granular detail of what are the applications that actually run in terms of using this data. So we took all of those sorts of things, and on top of that, enterprise customers were also saying that device management is totally isolated from subscription management or procurement management. So we actually spoke to one enterprise customers, and believe it or not, they have 800 managers just managing subscriptions. That's insane. That's just like, because there's no automated way to do it. They do a lot of physical inventory, but they can only do so much. So we took all of those feedback and thought about how can we help with eSIM technology. So what we wanted to do was to take that technology, remote SIM provisioning, and actually consolidate, help the IT pro, help the procurement manager, have a more aligned work stream, be able to manage all devices and subscriptions into one kind of familiar solution, if you will. And so all of these things, assets connectivity, becomes streamlined within the organization, and so you have more control and more manageability over devices and over profiles, or profiles we interchangeably use with data subscriptions for this matter. All right, so we have a couple of enterprise solutions. We are working with Intune. I'll talk to you about the ecosystem more in a bit, but the two enterprise solutions that we currently have, we're working both with Intune as a mobile device management provider. Why did we choose an MDM? The reason is that when we talk to mobile operators, I mean, with enterprise customers, what are they using to manage devices? They're using SCCM for desktop and so on and so forth. They're using an MDM for mobile, for phones and such. And we felt like it was a natural progression. If we wanted to streamline what the IT pro can do with what procurement manager is handling, we wanted to leverage an already existing familiar solution. So we're not introducing yet another one for an enterprise to adapt, to go through, to understand. And so we felt like it was a natural progression and just leverage an MDM. We have Intune. We're working with Intune. Windows is working with Intune closely to offer this. In fact, we have a booth over there if you want to know more about this, about co-management, autopilot, how it works all together. There are two types. The Intune one, which is offline mode, wherein, how many of you guys have Intune subscription, by the way? Some of you. If you go to the tenant, if you have admin access, you go to the tenant, you will see eSIM profile management actually right now. It's on a preview mode, but what that does is, what it needs is just a quick CSV file. So think about, instead of a physical card, this is an analogy that I'd give. When you get your profiles, your data from a mobile operator that you already have, instead of them distributing the physical form factor, they will give you an eSIM metadata. What does that mean? There is just a bunch of things like, think of it like a device information, but we have ICC ID, we have a matching ID, we have a server address, basically metadata corresponding to your data plan. And then you will take that, upload that to a CSV, and then from an IT perspective, you're good to go. You know X number of data subscriptions have been uploaded and can now be assigned to devices. Real-time mode is something that we're working on, still with Intune. This is something that will be available in the future. There are more components to it. The main difference is that with real-time mode, the mobile operator would like to get a status of what's happening with each of the subscription. So compared to the one up here, and pardon us, this should have been offline or a batch mode, not Intune. But the main difference is that the batch mode, or the first one, the mobile operator doesn't know. So it's like, what happens to the physical card right now? I can give it to you, and mobile operator, for all intents and purposes, for them, it's pre-activated. You're already being charged. They don't know whether your card has been stolen, lost, suspended, or or something else. They don't really care. You're paying for it, and you're good to go. With real time, mobile operators want to know what's the status. Do we need to suspend this? And this has to do a lot with billing. They want to have a more accurate way on how to bill certain things. All right, now we go to the ecosystem. As you can imagine, on our side, enabling eSIM was something that we did on the OS itself, Windows OS. We actually have had this functionality since last year, spring of last year. So if you're familiar with Windows RS2, it already had actually eSIM. The reason why you did not see that in your devices is because you need a couple of things to enable that and to see that, to make it work. But in all devices from Windows RS2 and beyond, so every time you keep on updating the version of Windows, you will have it. There are a couple of things that you need. You need an operator. You need an operator that supports it. You need an operator that supports eSIM, particularly on PCs. That's the number one thing. Enterprise customers. This is particularly the flow for enterprise customers. EUM, it's basically a SIM vendor. So think of like the Gemaltos, Ademia and GND and those operators that are the ones that are distributing the physical card right now. They're the same ones that are working on the embedded chip. Device. I'll focus on this one and why I have Surface up here. Not all LTE devices are eSIM capable. Surface Pro LTE Advanced, I would say, is one of the first devices that had it. We released that particular model last year, fall of last year. We did not really highlight it that much because the ecosystem wasn't quite ready yet. But now we're making the announcement of what we're doing on the enterprise space because we're ready. We have partners who are supporting us, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. How many of you have the Surface Pro LTE Advanced? Except for the Surface people, or the Microsoft people. So I think one of the things that would differentiate this particular product from other LTE eSIM capable devices, there are others that are supporting it, is that it has LTE. There are two SIM slots, actually. One is a mechanical slot. So for those of you who are thinking, it's just an LTE, you know, you can put my SIM on it, it's a mechanical traditional slot. What you don't know is that mechanical slot is capable of actually reading an eSIM card. It's kind of weird, like it's embedded. Why are we removing and why are we using the mechanical slot? They did that on purpose because the industry is not quite ready to shift completely and do away with a physical form factor. So there are cards that look, feel like a traditional SIM card, but they're actually eSIM capable. What that means is it can be blank. It can be blank, and you can choose whoever carrier that's supporting eSIM for a PC that you would have a profile on. One thing to note, though, there are two, as I mentioned, but you can only use one profile or one plan after the other. You can download as much as 8 to 10 profiles on a card. So think about the scenario wherein I'm traveling for work. Maybe we're in the US right now. I have, you know, some of the carriers right here, but I also travel to Europe quite often. And my enterprise company is, you know, they're a little bit, you know, into like saving costs and whatnot, and they have partnership with other carriers, maybe within the European region, and they can assign to me another eSIM profile. I can download that onto the same device, not have to worry about what's my data connectivity when I land, and you can switch back and forth according to where you are and according to policy. And all those things are configured via Intune. So think about how you are leveraging an MDM right now, how an MDM syncs, pushes policies onto your device. It's the same mechanism. So when it updates with updated policies, it will push any eSIM profile that has been assigned to you. And there's no real difference from an end user perspective. Now, the other thing I mentioned about the embedded slot on the Surface LTE Advanced, Pro Advanced. So there's one slot, if you guys are familiar, think about the good old dual SIM days. you choose which one you're going to be using. Same concept applies. You will pick one. On the settings, under cellular, there are actually two, SIM 1 and SIM 2. SIM 1 is the default. That's a mechanical slot that I mentioned, which is capable of eSIM as well. SIM 2 is a purely embedded one. And we have tested it. Some of the mobile operators that we're working with have already tested it. And then the orchestrator. The orchestrator is something that is kind of underneath the covers, if you will. I did mention about the real-time solution earlier, enabling the mobile operator to have real-time updates of what the status of each profile is. That's the purpose of the orchestrator, actually. So if you need, as a mobile operator, real-time updates, you need to have the direct connectivity with an MDM server. If you're an MDM provider, or if you're a mobile operator, you don't want to go through the hassle of, hey, I need to onboard to each MDM or to each mobile operator. The orchestrator does that. They help with scalability. So what you're thinking from an enterprise point of view, you don't need to worry about anything. As long as you are with an MDM provider, such as Intune, for example, who has onboarded and support this, you're good to go. This is more like the plumbing, if you will. One of the things, lastly, that I wanted to mention is the telco expense management. So one thing that, and I mentioned this earlier as a gap, is that there's no visibility over how is data being used and control, monitoring of the data usage. So we have partnered, and I'll mention who, with some third-party vendors that have relationship with Intune. And so what that does is they're able to actually not just show you data usage, but it also shows you each one. And for each one, you can actually say, cap this data, or you can go as far as, I don't want Netflix to be running on this data. I don't want, Facebook or whatever else. I only want this particular data for this particular group to be using it purely for LOB, right? So that's kind of the sort of thing. I mentioned device, Surface Pro LTE, MDM, we're working with Intune. This will be available with other MDMs in the future. Edemia is our orchestrator provider, wherein the mobile operators and MDM would be both onboarding, and they're responsible to do that. Suswito and Wandera are the two telco providers that we're working with. This does not require any type of onboarding on your end. It just requires you to have an account with these people, and that's basically you're good to go. It takes an ecosystem to build what we actually wanted to enable eSIM for the enterprise from the Windows side. Windows itself would not be able to bring this for the enterprise. Neither will the device itself. It's really an entire ecosystem. And so going back to my point earlier, that's why even if Surface Pro LTE Advanced has been available since last year, we didn't really quite focus on this yet because the ecosystem was not quite ready. In terms of mobile operators, KDDI and C Spire have committed to commercialize this with us. There are other mobile operators that we are working with. We're still working on the details of commercialization. That's why we can't quite make an announcement on who those are yet. But these are the ones that we were blessed to talk about today. And that's really it. Any questions or what have you? We will be at the Surface booth, and the autopilot and co-management booth from today or through the rest of the week. We will be doing some demos if you want to take a look at how it's easy for an IT pro to upload it to Intune, look at how Wandera's suite work actually. So yeah, feel free to drop by. We have some sessions, demo if you want to drill down. I think we have some time for questions. And I think we have some goodies from Surface as well, for those who are going to ask questions. Yes? Oh, sorry.
Will this apply to the LTE version of Surface Go as
well? No. So yes, it will not. So what that means is it will just support a mechanical, traditional SIM card, yeah. So it needs to have an eSIM, yeah, it does not. Any other question? And then I'll go to you next.
Do all Surfaces have this ability? All the Surfaces?
Right now, on the Surface category, only the Surface Pro LTE Advanced has this, based on the products that we have announced. Yes. I'm sorry.
Is it available through distributors currently?
Is it what? Sorry.
Is it available through distributors?
Yes, it is. It is. So this has been available since last year. I believe the new ones are released with the current version of Windows, so you don't have to worry about that if you are just going to purchase it.
If I'm not an enterprise, but I have a Surface LTE Advanced,
Yep.
Can I use eSIM?
You can. You can. There are mobile operators. We have a consumer version. Windows has a consumer version, actually, of eSIM in some regions. There is a way to do it. Yes.
Is there a location that we can see current providers, roadmap, things like that?
In terms of devices or in terms of mobile operators?
Oh, obviously we know the product roadmap, but I'm looking at places to stay current with providers as they come on board. I know you said that there's new providers coming on.
Right.
Yeah, really. So
there is, and we can follow up on that one. I think so. What the question is, if customers can see their roadmap for who are the providers that are going to be coming up with and supporting this from a device perspective and a mobile operator perspective. I think right now we have some links to tech docs. So if you want to know more about this one, there is a tech doc related to Intune. And I think that's the first place that we can have to just keep on updating that. Yeah.
A piggyback question to what he asked. So for product line, is it always going to be the advanced Surface Pro Advanced that has this functionality, and can the on-prem SCCM be used to manage it?
So I'll talk about the devices first. In terms, I don't know if that is the direction. I think they're trying to figure out on widening in the broader range of Surface devices. So that's the only thing that I can talk about right now for that particular one. SCCM though, so are you familiar with co-management? So once you have those in Intune, so this is only available through Intune. So we're not doing it on devices that are on SCCM, but if you're doing co-management and those devices are, let's just pretend, are eSIM enabled, then yes. Oh, okay. How many? Okay. Just one more question, and then I'll be here for more questions that you guys have. Yeah, you can pick them.
Will this Surface Advanced LTE and future Surface have the USB-C port like the Surface Go?
Oh, let's. Yeah, we can talk about the roadmap. Unfortunately, yeah. That's a Surface question. Yeah. So thank you. As I mentioned, we actually have a deep dive tomorrow at 11:45, I believe. We're going to be talking about eSIM for the enterprise. We're going to be doing the demos and all that, but feel free to drop by the Surface booth and the Intune booth for more questions. Thank you.